morning to everybody here. Our next speaker for the day is Pratigya Poonacha. Pratigya Poonacha is a researcher and a faculty member at the Indian Institute for Human Settlements. Her work focuses on understanding climate change impacts and responses in urban and peri-urban geographies, both from top-down and bottom-up perspectives. Today, it's going to be more of an informal discussion with 4 practitioners of urban gardening and urban agriculture in Bangalore. And yeah, we're really excited and looking forward to the conversations. I'll hand over to Pratigya now. Thank you.
Thank you, Anusha, for the introduction. Good morning, everyone. Am I audible?
Yes.
Okay. First of all, thank you to Science Gallery Bangalore, Phytopia, and Edible Issues for giving us this opportunity and to host this discussion. I am an aspiring and an amateur gardener myself, so I am very much eagerly looking forward to this discussion with the panelists today. Gardening or growing food is certainly not a new activity. And we've heard a lot about it from the previous 2 speakers. But in the recent times, it's found a renewed interest, especially among urban dwellers, for several reasons. Sustainable lifestyle choices, safe and healthy food options, mental, physical, emotional well-being. These are some of the common reasons. But also this has become all the more pronounced now during this pandemic, during this lockdown period, when food systems and food networks around the city was disrupted, making it hard for people to procure fruits and vegetables. Now, many people in my own circles started growing their own vegetables and gardening more seriously during the lockdown. However, anyone who's tried to grow anything at all can tell you it's not as easy as it sounds. And I can testify from all the failed experiments of gardening myself in my humble balcony garden. But today I'm joined by 4 prolific urban gardeners who tell you otherwise. These folks are green heroes who convert their balcony spaces, their institutional terraces, their communities, neighborhoods, and backyard spaces into green havens of healthy food. So without taking too much time, I'm going to introduce our panelists for today and invite them to share their experiences of gardening and growing in the city, and perhaps also share some tips on how we can get started with our own. Our first panelist for the day is Pooja Vasant. Pooja leads the administration and operations functions at the Indian Institute for Human Settlements. Previously, she served in the Indian Army before retiring as the captain in 2007. At IHS, she oversees the management of facilities, event management, procurement, and security across 5 locations across the country. She has helped build the IHS Bangalore City campus into a vibrant research and teaching facility, and also piloted sustainability initiative in preparation for the development of the state-of-the-art upcoming campus at Kengeri. She will share with us the experience of setting up a rooftop garden at IHS City campus in Sadashiv Nagar, as well as the extensive farming experiences and plans in the larger IHS residential campus at Kengeri. Welcome, Pooja. The next speaker we have is Anamika Bist. Anamika is an urban farmer and the founder of Village Story, a community farming enterprise in Bangalore. She is also involved with a number of other green initiatives such as organizing farmers markets, sustainability workshops, school and corporate engagement, and eco-friendly engagement programs. And if those of you who are following her or are on Instagram, you will see the kind of activity she's been up to, and it's incredible. A graduate from the National Institute of Fashion Technology, New Delhi, she worked in the retail sector for over 21 years before giving it all up and starting Village Story in 2017, introducing the concept of square foot farming in Bangalore. Welcome, Anamika, and we look forward to hearing your experiences of urban and community farming in Bangalore. The next speaker we have is Meenakshi Arun. Meenakshi is an IT professional with over 18 years of experience. A very passionate gardener, she started gardening first on her terrace and balcony for about over 12 years. And now currently she gardens from her backyard in her independent residence, where she has a very vibrant and a lush kitchen garden. And I have seen it and it's amazing. She is also part of a group of passionate farmers, urban farmers, educating citizens on safe food and sustainable environmental practices. A warm welcome to you, Meenakshi. And finally, we have Hariram Pagadala Srinath. He is also an IT professional with over 25 years of experience. His hobby turned passion of growing food started over 10 years ago, initially in his terrace of his previous residence, and now has moved into a balcony of his current residence. He believes in being self-sufficient by growing one or two things on a continuous basis to avoid buying them from the market to provide safe food for his family. He is determined to grow food regardless of the limited space in his balcony, and along with sustainable practices such as composting, among other things. His mantra is to stay eco-friendly and organic. Thank you, Hariram, for joining us, and we look forward to hearing all about your adventures of growing from a balcony.
Thank you.
So let's dive straight into the conversation. But before that, if the audience has any questions, like in the previous sessions, kindly type in your questions on the chat box. Given the paucity of time, we'll see if we are able to respond to that during the session, or we will be able to respond to you directly after the session. So let me start by hearing a little bit. I mean, I'm going to open the floor with a question for all the speakers, and I'll call out your names to respond. Let us start by hearing a little bit about your own gardening initiative. Tell us how you got started, what were your motivations behind it, what does your garden look like? Maybe we can start with Pooja.
All right. A very good morning to one and all. Firstly, I would like to congratulate the Science Gallery Bangalore to organize this wonderful event, and Pratignya for inviting me to be part of this interesting discussion. Okay, let me start off on a very lighter note by sharing a quote. To be happy for an hour, go to happy hour. I'm sure the Bangalore's relate to happy hour, yeah? To be happy for an hour, go to happy hour. To be happy for a lifetime, plant a garden. With this note, let me respond to Pratigna's question here. At IHS, we have a rooftop garden in our city campus building, which is around 1,400 square feet. We have been growing vegetables since 2016, and we have a very simple setup with green nets, and we've been able to cultivate most of the vegetables. To name a few, beans and brinjal, onion, and on some greens also, like palak and lemongrass and pudina. We are able to harvest around an average of 6 to 7 kgs from our rooftop garden. At our Kengeri campus, we have around half an acre of plot dedicated as of now for growing fruits and vegetables since 2019. And we get an average yield of 15 to 20 kgs in a cycle there. Like coming to the question, what motivated us? As an institution, sustainability is our key vision. We want to drive the concept to eat what we grow and grow what we eat. In our Kengeri campus, we plan to grow our food, and we will have our own kitchen to cook for our staff and learners. We believe this will form a sort of a living lab that will provide a variety of teaching, learning, and as well as research and practice environment, allowing individuals to build a connection with their food. IHS campus in future will like to demonstrate certain key elements of urban agriculture by establishing various productive habitats that provide for the community's nutrition and dietary needs. That's the roadmap for us. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Pooja. Look forward to hearing more. Can we move to Anamika? Can you tell us a little bit about your initiative and motivations that you got started with?
Hi all, I'm Anamika here from Village Story. I'm from Bangalore, and thanks Pratignya and Sheetal for inviting me here. And thanks for organizing this lovely, beautiful Sunday morning. And my morning routine is always going to my garden and seeing what is the blessing today, especially weekend, especially when you have extra time to give just to yourself and to your garden and not get indulged with any other activities, apart from our daily routine. So yeah, would like to introduce first the initiative. So Village Story is a very basic thing which I wanted to start. Absolutely as basic as, something like growing your own food, which when we were growing, And we all, I'm sure every one of us had this little small backyard, and we all had, our hands in our soil. But when I was in Bangalore and we were confined to this 2 to 3 bedroom apartments with one small balcony, it was such a difficulties for for our kid or for myself also to practice something like this. So it was such basic mindset. I started Village Story, and Village Story is a venture with the vision to facilitate city dwellers, city dwelling communities in discovering the pure joy of connecting with your own roots, going back to basic. And yeah, so we started this Village Story started with community farming 3 years back on 15th of August. I had a small patch of land. I started doing growing my own food, and then the experience was so beautiful doing it as myself. And I started inviting my friends. I started sharing these food with everybody, and I started thinking that why don't we convert this into community farm kind of a concept. The land is very small. It is 33,000 square feet, which is less than an acre. 33,000 square foot, yeah, would be less than an acre. And the harvest was so much that I started distributing to my neighbors, and they actually got tired that how much you can give from this small place. And actually the patch was only, I started getting nervous. I said, this small place can give so much of, I'm sure all of us agree, if you plan it well, if you plan it intelligently, from greens to vegetables to fruits to herbs, everything can be in a small place. So we started this initiative called experiential square foot farming, basically to engage a family with the plot, where we give subscription for 3 months, 6 months, 9 months, 12 months. Then you come and do farming with us. We'll give you a small plot. We'll grow together, because from my background, I don't have any background of farming, like how you all are expert here sitting. Meenakshi ma'am, Pooja, all of you guys, are expert. And when I talk about farming, and I feel like, oh my God, I'm actually facing them and talking about my experience. But believe me, this is only about practice. You have to be persistent. You have to be practicing, and you have to be just one thing, that whatever little you will grow, you want to grow yourself and see how it is. I don't think I am facilitating the whole kitchen today with, growing of my food, but at least something is coming from my garden. It is so much, it is so satisfying. My child asking me question, my child putting my hand, it is started from personal thing, and it is now grown to for anybody and everybody as a community. So I feel proud that, from not necessary that you have to come from a farming background to have something. It's just that you have to have your own will, you have to have your own passion, and something which you want to give it to people. So that's how we started Village Story, and we are here today with all of you guys sharing our experience. So really thank you for the lovely morning, and this beautiful green vibes and all the green thumbs. So I feel good that we are discussing this today. And especially on corona time, we realized that a lot of people who had who were going out to buy, they were scared where the vegetable is coming from, where your food is associated with which, who all people, how are they handling, what all they are putting. So especially during coronavirus, we started this something called microgreens, and we went wild on microgreens, from small to, you can say now, at least per crop, we can facilitate some 15 to 20 kgs of microgreen per crop. And so yeah, so that is huge, because microgreen doesn't need people had always reason that, oh, you have a farm, that's why you can garden, oh, you have a big terrace, you can garden. Microgreen is one tray. You have to have that passion, you have to have that motivation to do something as small as possible, so that you cannot have any reason that you cannot grow. Then you talk about the technology, then you talk about the experience, everything will go against you if you don't want to grow. You don't want to grow, you don't want to grow. If you want to grow, you can grow in a smaller tray also. So that's how we started, and microgreen is doing quite amazing. I mean, I'm surprised with the response. I'm surprised with curiosity with people are throwing on growing and having such huge nutritional value from a such small quantity. So from where to here, and that's it, is our story today.
Thanks, Anamika. We really look forward to picking up more strands of conversations with you.
Thank you, Pratigya.
Moving next is Meenakshi Arun. She is a backyard gardener. And ma'am, can we invite you to say a bit about your garden as well as your motivations for starting it?
Sure. Thanks, Pratigya, for having me on this panel. Really a joy to meet everybody. And I think for all of us, this has been, it continues to be a journey, right? We are all learning every day. My motivation really, I think, right from a young age, my grandparents, my mother, everybody loved plants. Not that we grew edible plants, right? That was the difference. But around 2004, we were in Bangalore. I had, we were living in our own apartment. And I happened to see, in a farm nearby. First, I was very excited that, there's produce that I can go buy, close to home. And one of the days, when we went a little earlier than their harvest time, we realized that, all of the greens are really growing in bad, dirty water from, their sewage from the hut that they had. So that's what really made me think, and I started growing my greens, at least in a balcony. And to Anamika's point, nobody in my family has ever farmed before, so it was a terrific experience, learning how to grow, what to grow in your context, right? So it started in the balcony, and it went on. It wasn't a massive effort. We were, of course, still buying things from outside, but I think the curiosity had already started by then to understand where food came from, and how do we, in that urban context, start to at least source safer food. Okay, so in that whole urge to find out more, that's when it took almost 6 years, but then we met Dr. B.N. Vishwanath and his team from the Garden City Farmers, and they were doing some fantastic work to take this whole concept of urban gardening to the citizen. And from that whole experience, I made so many friends, so many, equally, either experienced gardeners, inexperienced gardeners, people who were very, enthusiastic to share, everything they had learned. And I think I've never stopped since then, right? And back in 2012, we moved to our own home. And today, I think we are at about 90% of our needs come from our backyard most of the year. So it's been a fantastic journey, and every day is a new learning, right? So that, I think that would be my that was my journey. My motivations, of course, safe food for the family, better nutrition, avoiding having to depend on doctors for your health. Absolutely, that's my motivation.
Thanks, Meenakshi. I've had the wonderful opportunity to see your garden, and I was blown away with the variety of things that you grow in this small space of your backyard. So it's amazing, and we look forward to hearing more. The last speaker today is Hariram, and Hariram moved from being a terrace gardener to a balcony gardener, and I think that is a reality for most of urban dwellers, having a small balcony space to grow. So Hariram, we're really interested to hear about what your garden looks like, what's the initiative, and what got you started, what are your motivations behind it?
Thank you so much. Very good morning to all. Thank you so much for having me in this panel. It's lovely to be here. Yes, you can call me as a downgraded farmer, urban farmer. But when I hear about 33,000 square feet and a backyard of Meenakshi, and my balcony is just 8 feet by 4 feet. But a lot happens there. Okay, and I wish I had that 33,000 square feet to do much more. But yes, my motivation was basically it all started as a hobby when I was young, and I have seen my grandparents, growing food in the front yard, in the backyard. Lives were different in those days, and we never had a situation to go out and buy a curry patta. I've seen my mother running around in the town, but at the grandparents' house, almost everything is available in and around the place. That's how the hobby was there. And then, of course, the education and the job kept me away from doing some kind of gardening. But then my younger one, I think, is the primary motivation for me to get into gardening again, because he had a specific choice of picking up certain vegetables, and he had his own likes and dislikes and etc. Okay, so just wanted to show him that there's not, everything in our plate takes time to come. So I started with some 3-4 pots just to show him how a palak grows and how much time it takes. So that's all. That's how I started my journey in Bangalore, especially in gardening. So I never realized I'll be in the panel today to discuss about the garden. So it's all started for my youngest son. Yes, the primary motivation was that, but subsequently I have realized as part of growing, I had to study more and look around in internet to find out what are the different ways to do it and etc. And something that scared me was the kind of food we are eating. Okay, and the moment I have realized that how unsafe it is for my family, so I have decided that at least let me see how much percentage of the damage can be reduced. I know that I cannot be 100% sustainable in a small space like a balcony or a small terrace that I had, but I wanted to bring as much as possible from my terrace or balcony to the kitchen, at least one item or 2 items, so that we know while we take precautionary steps on the food that we buy outside to ensure that we buy in only organic food, but I wanted to also grow the food at home. So that's how I started, and today I'm here with my balcony, and in fact balcony makes you more creative, and it tells you that everything is possible.
Thanks, Hari. I'm sure a lot of us here are looking for inspiration to start off our own balcony gardens. So just a quick thing, I'm going to share a slideshow of some pictures of the exciting initiatives our panelists have spoken about. But in the meantime, I will also continue the conversation. Starting with Hari, you told us a little bit about how you started this for your son. You wanted to show him how much time growing takes. So is gardening a family activity for you all? What kind of time and effort goes into developing your balcony garden? And typically, what is the kind of time in the morning or in the evening that you spend in your balcony garden?
Yeah, like I said, almost everything is possible, in this limited space we have. And yes, it is a family activity. Given the space, I don't think the whole family needs to be involved. And typically, either me or my younger one will get in the balcony. I go into the balcony with a cup of coffee, and by the time I finish my coffee, I'm done with my gardening. So that's the time it takes for me. Other than that, weekends we spend some time. We spend some time to see if we can grow something new and etc. Like I said, there are a lot of things that you can grow in the small garden, in the small space, and you can involve the entire family. In fact, in my case, the whole family supports me. Each person has a duty of their own. Somebody cleans up, and somebody plants it, and somebody harvests it, and so my wife, while she does the harvesting part of it, and I do the growing part, my younger one takes care of cleaning part. So that's how we distributed our efforts.
I think it's amazing because not only is it giving you, safe and healthy food, but it's also a family bonding activity that keeps kids away from the screen, and it gets time for the whole family to be together. That's amazing.
Yeah.
On the other end of the spectrum, I actually want to ask Pooja. Now, your initiative is a much larger scale. So what kind of time and effort goes into, maintaining something like that? Okay, thank you for that muting, and sorry for the glitch. Yeah, so Pooja, I was asking you to comment a little bit about the time and effort that goes into maintaining such a large garden space.
All right. So Pratigya, in an institution like IHS, the initial challenge, I'll start from this challenges we faced in maintaining this effort. In the initial stage, there were a few challenges in understanding.
Sorry, could everyone put their mics on mute other than the person who's speaking?
All right. All right. So some of the initials in the initial stage, we faced challenges in understanding the methodology for rooftop farming. And we've been trying new methods and learning and implementing. As Meenakshi said, it's an ongoing learning process, even for an institution like us. To address your question, we do need resources who are trained in that. So that's the biggest challenge, what I would say. And it's a training process which takes some time, and also the awareness, because we also come from a different background in traditional farming and all those things. But considering today's era, when you want to do it at a larger scale, we have a lot of technology-based systems available, which can be used to help us to minimize this maintenance and understand better things, so helps us to achieve the desired outcomes in the long run. So overall, the time period, I said, it depends on the type of the plant we are cultivating. So so it may take from a month, like a greens would be small. It takes lesser time to other produce like vegetables, to a cycle of 1 to 2 months. Yeah.
Okay. And I don't know if you have any, what does the cost look like? Yeah, that's the question I want to ask. Well, what does is it an expensive affair to maintain a large garden, or is it sustainable economically as well?
I would say, in reference to the cost aspect, so if you're looking at a larger scale, compared to what we're buying from outside, it is cheaper anytime. The cost aspects obviously would be in reference to the IoT systems which we plan to implement in our campus, which may be a one-time cost which we may have to incur. But so that's the major cost, I would say. Obviously, the area as such is a question here. So we are trying to use, as you rightly said, we are trying to use a lot of infrastructure in our campus, like our, the terrace, the courtyards, even the residential balconies, to grow as much as possible. So, yeah.
Okay. Okay, thank you. I want to ask Meenakshi. So, when you moved into your independent residence, started your backyard garden. So what were the considerations you had to make in order to, plan your garden? Were there structural changes that you had to think about? Were they, what were the kind of, inputs that you had to plan basically to set up your garden?
Sure. Can you hear me okay? Okay. So one of the, definitely you need to plan, no two ways about it. So when you're setting up in a larger, space like an independent home, I think the first thing you need to always understand 3 factors: light, your water, and then the soil itself. So in terms of light, it was important for us to understand, the direction that the sun moves, through the year, as well as, the spots that you will actually get light once the construction is up. So the house was also planned in such a way that we had a lot of gardening space. So one of the first things we did as we moved in, as the structure was coming up, was I had already started making those sun maps and started to plan what goes where. The other thing that you need to also ensure is you have the right access to water. These are the small things that make gardening very easy, making sure that you have your water piping, and in the event that you're planning for a grey water system, you need to make sure all of that is put in place. And then in terms of the structure itself, since this is a garden on the ground, we didn't have to worry about things like waterproofing or those kind of things that you would think of in a terrace. But we did think about structurally, what are the kind, what about trellising? Where do I need to grow a certain kind of plant? Those kind of things were definitely planned. We also, of course, we made enough mistakes. So I assumed that, going to growing in the ground is going to be really easy. But within a year, we had realized that, when you don't build something like raised beds, then there is too much of, water runoff, there's nutrition runoff. And at a point, I almost thought that I'm spending all my weekends only weeding. So very soon we put in place raised beds as well. And I have to say that that was a game changer for our garden, where immediately we saw, whether it was the harvest, it was the ease of maintaining the garden that completely, from spending all my time in sort of, non-useful activities like, weeding or things like that, I was only spending time, sowing and actually growing. So that was definitely a big change. And yes, you need to, you need to make sure that you have the right sources, especially if you want to be sustainable. So I don't use too much of, I try to reuse a lot of the, stuff that I use, even for trellises, for example. We use bamboo, and we get a lot of the bamboo from nearby bamboo growth. You can, if you have enough space, you can plant bamboo so that, you get it from your own environment and so on. Those are the things that it's important to plan for. And areas like, where safe areas where you can grow your seedlings, you don't have, the birds and the squirrels, rats getting at them, and they're really small. So those are the kind of things you plan for when you have a larger space that you need to think about.
Okay. As you can see on the screen, we see the produce that Meenakshi has been able to harvest from her garden. And I think that is so inspiring. So I just want to ask another question. I mean, do you consume all the food you grow, or I also know that there's an active network of people involved in urban gardening forming their own little communities. So can you tell us a little bit more about this community there is, and what are the practices of sharing, and just give us a sense into the community?
Sure. So your first question on do we consume everything that we grow? If no, we have to share it. And sometimes I actively grow a little extra when I plan my sowing as well, so that I can share, because I also have a couple of friends in the community I live in, and they plant things that I don't have space for. So we share, right? So that's again, I think community interactions get extremely positive when you have a group of people gardening, right? So that is so yes, we plan a lot of our produce planning together. At the same time, in terms of the larger community that exists in Bangalore, so as I was mentioning earlier, we have the Garden City Farmers Trust, which Hari and I, we've all been associated with, and we have a very large forum that is active on Facebook. It's called the Organic Terrace Gardening Group. That since has also morphed into many area groups, because ultimately gardening is also about how often you can meet, to share your seeds, your saplings, your knowledge. So there's a lot of, pocket groups that are formed across Bangalore. They meet almost weekly. There's WhatsApp groups, Telegram groups, all kinds of things to, share the whole joy of growing and to learn from each other. So I think that is another takeaway you get from being a part of this community. You suddenly have access to, a huge group of people who share a very similar mindset. And especially if you are committed to growing in an organic manner, soon you start going beyond just the garden. You start exploring, other things in the space of sustainability. You start understanding water as well. You start understanding, other chemical contamination, from your cosmetics, from your household cleaning and so on. So overall, I think this group it's thriving, and every day one of the lovely problems Hari and I have is we have to approve over 1,000 requests coming into the group. We do try to curate it as much to keep the conversation focused, but it's it's very, very energizing to see so many people grow. And I think this is one of those passions which can only be good for the larger community, right?
That's excellent.
Yeah.
Thank you, Meenakshi. In fact, if you can put the names of the group on the chat for those who are unaware of these, I think it would be a really interesting resource for people to log in and perhaps increase your load of requests as well. So I want to move over to Anamika, and since we are talking about the community, and you have enabled a community farming movement almost by opening up your own farm for people to come and farm. So can you tell us a little bit about your experience of opening up your farm to the community? What kind of people are really engaged? And how does your community farm model really work?
Sure. So yeah, we started this for a family of 3 to 4, husband, wife, 2 kids, and it went on to school also. School also started taking the square foot farming on a subscription mode to come and learn, because few schools, they don't have. Bangalore, actually Bangalore, we are lucky that Bangalore has land, but few schools, they want to come and learn. So they subscribe to the place, for 3,000 rupees. We do it for a month, and the subscription is for 3 months, 6 months, 9 months, and 12 months, which I spoke last time. So you come and we give you all the facilities. We give you the seed, we give you saplings, we give you soil, manure, watering, de-weeding, whatever, because we understand you cannot come every day, but we expect people to come at least once a week. So a lot of people have taken the farm on a serious note, thinking that they will come every week and and do some work there. A lot of people have just taken because they want to be associated with the farm, and they want to do some gardening and learning. Schools have definitely associated to understand where it starts, and till we harvest, until we replant. But there are so many gifting which is happening, like anniversary gift people will give, birthday gifts people will give, a plot subscription. So those are the movement which triggers people to associate with us. We also have a plan where you can exchange your food, what you are growing, with somebody next to your plot. So we have a group where we talk about, today we have chili available, which is extra. So if somebody wants it, I can exchange it with palak. So those kind of things are very nice, where people start chatting and they say, "Okay, I'm planting methi today. Why don't you plant, onion to, today," or something like that. But the one thing which I wanted to share here is patience. Uh, Farming is, we all know about the patience, and we urban dwellers don't. I seriously, we lack on patience a lot. So we started first year, we grew everything. We grew from bottle gourd to, anything you can think of, brinjal, bhindi. But people did not have patience to wait for 5 minutes, 5 months. They're like, "Oh, the turmeric is taking 7 to 8 months." I say, "Yeah, turmeric takes that much amount." So, we cut down, and the subscription is only, sadly, only for greens, because the greens are the quickest and you get harvest, because the moment you put some greens, tomorrow so only you will start getting calls saying that, our harvest is ready. It's not a shop. I mean, it's a growing experience. So we have that kind of a category where people don't have patience, and they think, because they have never done. The kids have never done. The moment they put seeds, they need to understand, how you nurture it. Not necessary you have put the seed and the seed will also grow. Sometimes the weather will not be okay. Sometimes the seed will not be okay. Sometimes maybe the way you are taking care of the seed and sapling will not be okay. So all the permutation, combination sometimes works, sometimes doesn't work. We need to understand that the patience levels is just, so that's how we have now come down from growing all the vegetables and all the fruits. We have only come down to only for greens. So we do a lot of exotic greens. We give different taste, to people for different kind of fruits, greens from arugula to leek to fennel to butterhead lettuce to anything you can think of. And of course, the basic, which is palak, methi, dhania, amaranthus. We talk about their, how to use it also, because it's very important that something new has been introduced to your garden. And if you don't know how to use it, it is demotivating. What is the fennel? I know that bulb has been used for stock, but people don't understand that fennel ka leaf also can be used for putting it on salad. Maybe the stem has been used for wrapping. And I've seen people doing different kind of experiment. So the whole plant can be used. Nothing you should throw. And at the end, if something which is going also, it can go on composting. So the whole garden has to be used properly. The whole garden is for you to eat, and also to compost it, and again it comes back to your garden. So this is the whole sustainable model you have to make. However small garden you have, like what Hari is talking about. Hari, you are lucky that you have small garden and you have everything there which you can maintain. sometimes I feel large space is also, too much to maintain, and how much to, so yeah, this is the experience on community side, and to the urban dwellers, that people should have some patience with the garden. Like how when you go for fishing, you have to have the patience. With the garden also same thing. And then taking care, I mean, pest control, then the weather control. You have to check your soil, you have to check how much water you are giving, which crop is taking how long, what is the harvesting time, what is the seasonality. All this thing, by the time you learn, you should not lose the patience, because every aspect adds some or the other growing experience, and it's a journey which you have to collect all this information and go. It's not like you have one seed and hey, the palak came and that's it, you have achieved in life. I mean, every day is a learning, every day is a flop show. I mean, I had horrible flop shows and today also. I mean, when talking about microgreens, the moment we introduce one new crop, we are finished. And then the whole thing is like, how do I achieve this to get it right? It's such a, it just, you get into it. So I think, we all have to understand from there that it is very important that patience really plays a huge role in your own farming or
Yeah.
garden.
As a amateur gardener myself, I think gardening is a character building exercise. Regardless of whether you get a produce, at least it builds some amount of patience and character in oneself. I'm mindful of the time, and we don't have too much of that, unfortunately. So I want to like go for a round of closing comments, and I will perhaps start with Hari. Hari, is it? Can you quickly tell us what does a smart balcony garden look like? What would your tips be for people starting to look at gardening from their small balcony spaces? What should one really consider?
I think the primary thing that you should consider is you should understand how much sunlight you're getting, because that's the number one constraint most of the balcony people have. Either some of them are getting too much of sunlight, or they're not getting any sunlight at all. Fortunately, I fall in between, that. So I get around 3.5 hours to 4 hours sunlight. Depending on the season. In summer I get 4 hours, and the other times I get around 3.5 hours of sunlight. So which is fantastic for having a flourishing balcony garden at the moment you have. Just to let you know, I myself never took a list of things that I'm growing, just because of this session. So I just went into the balcony to see what am I growing right now. Yes, I'm growing currently palak, basle. Basle is also called the Malabar spinach. I'm growing mango ginger. I have a drumstick plant. I'm growing cowpea and spring onions, gongura, pudina, coriander, nool kol, cluster bean, celery, green chilies, and some millets for attracting the birds. So when I looked at the list, it really tells me that, if like Anamika said, and if they don't want to grow, they don't grow. As simple as that. Otherwise, these are the ultimate things that you can do in a small space, which will not only make your garden look smarter, but also it makes you smarter in front of your neighbor. When they come to your house and when they see and they say that you're growing so much, I say that you have a better balcony than mine. I think about how much you can grow. Like Anamika said, and most of them wanted to do Rajnikant gardening. You sow today and you harvest tomorrow. Okay, so the moment I tell them saying that chili takes 2.5 to 3 months, they say that okay, no, I think I don't have that kind of a patience. But when I tell about the amount of chemicals that we are stuffing inside every day, I think that made the difference and made few more smart gardens in my apartment. At least people started growing. And since I made the difference of making at least 2-3 people to grow their own food, I feel not only my garden is smart, and whoever decides to grow and introduce the variety, and that makes your balcony garden smarter.
Thanks, Hariram. Really incredible. The list that you rattled off. I wouldn't imagine that you can grow so many things in a balcony.
Yeah.
So Pooja, if I can ask you, what is the future of such an initiative as large as the one that we have at IIHS? I mean, what are the future plans for the IIHS garden?
All right. Yeah. So I would start out with a question. Can you imagine living in a campus which is also a food forest? So
Wow.
being to able to see, grow, feel what you consume. Yeah. So our roadmap is to build a self-sustainable campus accounting into the entire ecosystem, yeah, which will help us to learn, practice, and teach as an institute. Yeah. The key features of our campus is to attain net positive energy and water and zero waste. The IHS campus will be testing and demonstrating all the efficiencies of urban agriculture. And an interesting thing is to create a diverse ecology where fruit and vegetable plantation will coexist with natural vegetation. Yeah. So the campus is going to have around 1.75 acres where we'll have farming with food forest. And also, as I said earlier, we'll be using the terrace, balcony, courtyard, and also the vertical walls to grow our food. This will be around 3 acres of our campus. Yeah.
Wow. Incredible, because I mean, I can't wait to see how this shapes up. I'm part of IHS myself, and I really look forward to this initiative. And I also know that if people are interested to visit the campus anytime, they can reach out to you. Is that
yes? Yes, very much, very much. We'll be glad to have them there and show them what we are doing. It's a small initiative right now, but as we are growing in the campus, I'm sure we'll have a better setup which will motivate people to get involved into urban farming, which is a need of the hour.
Okay, great. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Meenakshi, if I can ask you for your last thoughts on how should, when somebody has space as much as you do, how should one really plan to plant their food? You know, like what is the kind of mix that one should think about? What is the kind of seasonality to be able to achieve, if not 90%, at least 50% of their food coming from their own garden?
Right. Right. So I think it all depends on how much space you have, first of all, right? And the factors are always sunlight and water. Sun, water, and of course the soil. So regardless of what space you're in, whether it is a balcony, whether it's a terrace, or whether it's a backyard, like what I have, I think especially if you've never gardened before, start small. Okay, and you really need to understand the source of your food, what you can optimize within whatever space you have. And if nothing, start with your greens. They're the easiest, right? Anamika was also saying it is a lot of sense of early achievement when you put in some greens and they come up within 2 weeks. You can harvest some of them as well. So that is a very motivating factor for people to continue. Yeah. Now, when you're doing the long-term plan, you must also think about a good mix of perennials and annuals. So perennials would be, your fruit trees. You should think about some vegetables as well that grow near perennial, like Hari mentioned, the Malabar spinach can pretty much go on and on for a couple of years if you train it well. So you need to do things like that. You also need to ensure that it's not only the edible plants that you should have in your balcony. Also start thinking about, depending on the space, everyone will have those, shaded spots, extreme bright spaces, right? So the shady spots are where you can grow a lot of your spices. You can have a, pepper plant. You could have a, clove plant and things like that. They don't occupy too much space, and that's one little thing less that you need to get from the market, right? So you can optimize every little piece by thinking through these combinations of vegetables, fruits. And then within vegetables, you have, the bush types, the creeper types, and so on. Then you have your herbs and spices. Understand the medicinal quality of each of those plants. See what makes most sense to your family. Focus on those. And one thing that I can't stress enough is to ensure that you have the right native pollinators in your garden. So make sure that you include flowers that will bring in the bees, that will bring in all the other the insect ecosystem that is necessary to make sure that your garden thrives. Because when the insects come, they're followed by the birds. It automatically sets up you for success as a gardener, and you don't have to be running around spraying things and figuring out a lot of things, because your birdie friends will take care, your predator insects will take care. So you can just let everybody get a share of their food, right? So that's what I would advise to anybody. And more importantly, don't get stressed. The garden is supposed to give you joy. right? So don't worry about it. Just take everything as a learning experience. And the one thing I would always encourage anyone to also think about is convince your neighbor to grow with you. Right. So Hari was mentioning that, he gets 4 to 6 hours of sun. His neighbor's getting much better sun. Imagine now if they both pool their resources. So that's what you need to get to. And it helps if you start having that conversation about food safety.
Thank you, Meenakshi. Last 2 minutes. I know Anusha is waiting for us to continue.
We have to wrap, Pratignya. I'm really sorry.
Okay, sorry, Anamika. I wanted to ask you, what is the future of such community gardens?
Yeah, I just have a small thing that I think that, all of us really crave that whole SUPW and CCA we had in school, where we had gardening as compulsory. Now we don't see that in school a lot. So I think in education system, this is very important that kids should start learning, and at least it should go to compulsory from first standard to the 10th standard. You grow your own food, whatever experience you have, but grow your own food. You don't have space at home, so let's grow together. The motivation really comes when we do things together with the teacher, with facilitator, with your friends. So I think that is the thing which we have to trigger, that kids should start getting into gardening. We all are doing it now at this age. Imagine I doing this at 8-year-old or 9-year-old and continuous doing it the same thing. It's a different ball game altogether. That's my only thing, that we have to embed this whole food growing to our kids. More than right now, because we all have experience. The only thing which I started this whole thing because I wanted my kid to have the hands dirty. That's the future of, for all of us and all our gardens.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Anamika. Thank you, all the speakers. I thoroughly enjoyed myself speaking with you all. I hope the listeners have also enjoyed and have been able to take away something from this conversation. As I said before, if you have questions, please feel free to write to the organizers. They'll forward it to us and we can respond to them. So thank you so much, and have a good day and have a good cook along after this. Bye-bye.
Thank you, guys.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Pratignya.
Bye.
And thanks for everybody else for tuning into this session, and for all of our panelists for your inspiring stories.